Today, let's do a studio tour. I have a very small studio, but I just kind of wanted to show you how I do it cheap and simple. And I've been able to do a couple solo shows over the years. My name is Danelle, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in 1987 from Oregon State University. And I've been painting ever since, not very consistently. Part of wanting to start this channel is I want to be inspired to paint more consistently and have the fun of building this community, sharing ideas. So here are some of my leftover paintings from some shows I've done. Some of the larger paintings didn't sell. This one is from an exhibit I did called Beasts of the Bible. These were the pariah dogs from the Old Testament. Here's a great white shark that I did. This one never had a very great value range. I wouldn't mind repainting that. I thought that'd be a fun challenge to just repaint this one. And I often look at this one and think of things I would change about it too. I guess it's kind of an artistic thing that we all do. We want to improve and change. Here's one I did in the mid-1990s. That's my Rhodesian Ridgeback Tyrone and my pit bull Isaac. Wearing little kids' Halloween costumes. This one is one I did about, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And this was based on Tlingit stories. We live in Southeast Alaska on the land of the Tlingit natives. And this was a story called The Woman and the Woodworm. And to me, it was a compelling story about motherhood. She couldn't have children. She found a woodworm and she nurtured it, she fed it, she loved it until it grew into this giant sea monster kind of thing, and she hid it under her home. But then it was eating all the villagers' food, and so they lured her away and they killed her sea monster child while she was gone. I modeled that after a wolf eel. And I thought that was a really cool story. That one's about 5 by 6 feet, so it is hanging over my kitchen. Nobody really wants to buy. I've sold one of my big 5 by 6 foot paintings, but in general, my really larger ones haven't sold as fast as the small ones. This is one I did last spring for our annual Forest Service Hummingbird Festival. There's this 3 herring gulls. And I thought it would be fun to choose from among the more common birds. Usually I would choose something more dramatic. I did a second painting in that one of a harrier hawk. That is my dog Tyrone again, also from the mid-1990s. So here is my studio. It's very small. It's very multi-purpose. It's also our yoga studio. And there's Tyrone again. And I like to hang out paintings that inspire me. I love the colors and the simplicity in this one. And I thought this at first that this was Mondrian, but this is Hartman, I believe. And so I like having just sort of inspiration for my colors. This is a squid print that we made. We had a friend who caught some squid, and he gave us one of the squid, and we made ink prints out of it. That was really fun. It was kind of smelly, but it was fun. And then this was just like a little advertisement postcard that I made for the Tlingit show. There was a story about this giant octopus that destroyed an entire village. So I painted a village dog trying to fight off the octopus, but this is just a small detail from that painting. That is about a 5 by 6 foot painting also. This is from the Beasts of the Bible story. This was the advertisement card for it. That is the famous pale horse, the horses of the apocalypse. And then more inspiration paintings. And then there's just some old figure drawings from my college days. And then this is my kind of poorly organized resources, my favorite books. I have some I've always loved painting and drawing animals, so I have this very old book with just animal art in it from over hundreds of years. So that one has been a fun one. I have I have sketchbooks going all the way back to when I was in school, 80, 82, 85, 87. This is my mom's Doberman Pinscher. A lot of dogs featured in my work. That was a painting I was planning that I don't think I ever did that one. So I have a lot of sketchbooks in here. This is from when I went to school in Scotland. I went to school there on exchange for a year at Gray's School of Art in Aberdeen. And I would just set up still lifes and practice drawing in my room. And there's my plant for my room. And I would just draw from resource photos sometimes. Again, there's a self-portrait that I did. And these were plans for paintings that I had done. I have actually the finished painting. I still have that. I should grab that and I'll take a picture of it. And just sketches. We lived on a sailboat for a long time. That's a drawing of the sailboat we lived on. And more animal paintings. Did a gull even way back then. So I have sketchbooks, everything stacked up here. This is an old projector that I had, and it's really useful for doing wildlife or drawing from photos to get the sketch. Instead of transferring a grid to the canvas, I can use this. It's very old school. It just has a really bright light and a mirror. So this just reflects onto this mirror and projects the image. Just this last week, because I want to get more serious about my art again, I bought a modern digital projector. So I'm really excited to see how that works. And I do teach paint and sip classes. So I bought these acrylics. Normally I paint in oil paint, so I wanted to do a lot of practice with acrylics, so I bought those. This is a drawing that I did when I went to Austria. When I was living in Scotland during spring break, I went to Austria. And that was one of the horses in the stable when I went on a horse riding tour. I have a lot of these paint and sip pieces that I have done. This one was from last week's class. This was sort of a Valentine theme. I tried to make this heart in the middle here so that it would look kind of like a heart, but it was the day after Valentine's Day, so I didn't want to do a really obviously heart-themed painting. People seem to really like that. They have a harder time with animals than they do landscapes. This was a landscape I did based on a Cézanne painting. I taught this one a few years ago, actually. And this one, everyone did really well on this one. This is the one that I did. And there's Tyrone again. And I have paint and sip paintings everywhere. This was a spring-themed one. And this was one of the first ones I ever taught, a winter theme. This is one my son did. This was based on another really large painting I had in a show, so I just replicated it for paint and sip. People really liked this whale tail one. And this was just a sketch for the Harrier hawk that I did. That's just very, very rough. Some of the most difficult parts, I think, about being a professional artist is storage. In the late 1980s, I owned an art store, and I still have all of this very expensive paper. This is like German printmaking paper left over from that store. I don't do a lot with it. I use it for drawing sometimes. And then there's just extra boards for my paint and sip classes. This one was pretty fun. People really liked this one. This was one of the few animals they were able to paint very well. I'm not sure whose that one was. My kids would go with me. My sons would go to my classes too, so I have a lot of their paintings. And so I don't really know what to do with all of these leftover paintings. I think that was my son's painting. And so I have stacks and stacks and stacks of these old paint and sip paintings. That was a lighthouse painting we did. And so anyway, if you guys have some really brilliant ideas about storage, I would love to hear that. This is just my very rough setup. Not all my paints, but I've used these egg cartons to rest my brushes on when they're full of paint and really all gooped up. So I'll set them like that. It actually works really well. I'm also thinking of entering the next Hummingbird Festival show. The deadline is the end of next month, so I need to get cracking. And then I just use random things to put my brushes in, the really big brushes. This olive oil container was excellent. This is an old fish bowl. And this plant has grown so much over the years, it's become kind of a pain in the neck. It sheds a lot, so I don't know what to do about that. This is a set that I put together for my paint classes. I just recently got these squeeze bottles because one of the most difficult things of setting up for everybody is getting all the paint set up. I just used these paper plates. This is from when I did the sample painting to bring to class. And then these are just my extra oil paints. These are the colors I don't use as often. Somehow I've never used olive green very much. Just have some, what's that? Oh, rose permanent. I don't really like the transparent colors very much. So just put things in old boxes. There is nothing fancy around here. And then these are my spare paints, a lot of white oil paints. My odorless thinner. This is really hard to get here in Ketchikan. We live on an island, so they won't fly this to us, so we have to ask a store to order it for us because it has to come up on a barge. So living on an island has its own things. I hardly ever use any brown colors. Can't remember the last time I used burnt sienna. So those are sort of the basics. Here is my palette setup, also ridiculously simple. In college, they had us painting on glass that was taped down to a piece of hardboard, and then we would scrape the old paint off. When we were done, I got kind of tired of doing that, so I just buy these peel-off disposable ones, so I'll just throw them in the trash when I'm done. And these are my oil paints. I paint with a pretty stripped-down palette. I really like the Gamblin brand. Sometimes I'll get these giant tubes. I like really large tubes of paint because, as you can see, I tend to paint largish paintings. So these are left over from, I got these last two paintings I did, I bought these kind of fun new colors that I had never had before, this purple and this green, and that resulted in these two new paintings. This is an octopus that I just finished. This is the raven that I finished with those same paints, and I really got a kick out of those really bright colors, so I'm excited to do some more with those paints. And I do like the kind of brighter colors. This painting of a sandhill crane, it's kind of pretty bad light up here. It's very dark outside today. It's a rainforest here, so lighting in the studio is tough. We have a lot of darkness. So this is a sandhill crane that I painted, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's probably before COVID, so probably more like 7 years ago. And this one won People's Choice at that. And then the woman that works there, the Forest Service employee, makes these really cute ribbons. This was from this year. I won People's Choice for my Harrier Hawk painting that I did, but I donated that painting to a fundraiser for a homeless shelter this last summer, so I don't have that one anymore. Now this is the other storage problem. Here are some of my leftover, more really huge paintings, and there's a photo of it's a photocopy of my original Big Raven painting. There's the sketch for the full Pale Horse painting, and there's an advertisement, little postcard for that one. I think we decided against using that one, and we opted for that one instead. So over here is kind of a big mess. These are stretcher bars that I still need to use, which is great, but these are also frames that I pulled off of old paintings because I kind of want to break down some of these big paintings. You can see how big these paintings are. They take up a lot of space in this small house, and they kind of halfway block my son's door here. So I've been trying to figure out a way to dry them somewhere to store them somewhere dry that's not too expensive. Some of these paintings this one was so disappointing I just painted over it. This is a Day of the Dead painting I did that it's now been painted over. I repainted those skulls because I didn't like the way it turned out, so this one still needs to be finished. So this one's just sitting in purgatory. These are the other 3 horses of the apocalypse. It's of course the 4 horses of the apocalypse. There's the other 3. So here's the entire painting of the octopus that attacked the village. This is one of my favorite paintings. I have always wanted to hang it above my kitchen instead of that one. But getting the ladder out and getting someone to help me is difficult. They're both very, very heavy paintings. But this one gets stored over here. I did take this painting off of its stretcher bars, and I actually threw that painting away. I wasn't happy with that one. But so we just have these all stacked up over here. I've never been able to figure out exactly what to do with them. This is the pale horse. And it also is about 5 by 6 feet. What I would say has been one of my biggest mistakes over the years is not documenting every single artwork I did more carefully. I did commissions for people that I never even took pictures of. I'm not sure where to even find some photos of old paintings that are on old computers that died. I am going to work this year really hard on organizing everything, gathering up photos and files and everything, all the records of any art that I've done over all these years. So if you're young and just starting out, my really best advice would be to keep records, make sure you take photos of everything. I think it's easier now. These days we have our phones, it's easier to take photos. I did hire a professional photographer to take pictures of my paintings that I put in shows, and I haven't been able to find those photos since. So even when I did do a good job getting some documents, I lost them. So I would say be a lot more careful than I've also been very erratic in my approach to my art, so I want to be more consistent, and I'm hoping this channel really keeps me more on track and that you guys will motivate me and I will motivate you, and you can give me some great ideas on the places where I am very weak in, such as organization and consistency. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.